Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I am Susan Campbell today, joined by my friend, my colleague, Whitney Clark. You are one of our amazing anchors here at Arizona's Family. You also have your own podcast. You are so busy. So I'm so glad you made some time for this podcast. This is such a fun topic.
It really is. There's so many opinions, and it's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's interesting to be on someone else's podcast.
I love it. Well, welcome. We're going to have so much fun with this. A little maybe fun fact that I don't think you know about me. I am so obsessed with weddings.
Okay.
I love them more than anything in the world. My secret retirement plan is to open a wedding dress shop and live vicariously through brides and their happy days. I had a little side gig at one point as a wedding dress consultant. So I would go and do my regular reporting job, and then
shut up.
I had the most fun with it.
I did not know this about you.
I loved it.
So then what was your wedding like? I mean, when you got married, you know what I'm saying? What was that experience like?
It was so much fun to plan it, and it was like one of those things. Like, I probably went a little overboard with all the details because I had thought about it every day. Like, I had brides magazines when I was like 10 years old.
Oh, that's adorable.
I was just obsessed. Like, I would go to the library and check out brides magazines. My mom was like, I don't know what's going on, but sure.
So you have all your kids' weddings planned out too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. They're like 2 years old, but there you go.
No, we're going to do it up. We want to bring Esther into the conversation. The Knot just came out with, oh my goodness, so many different details about weddings this year. We want to jump right in. First of all, what are people actually spending on weddings?
Yes. So we saw, and it's so good to talk to all of you about this topic today, but we saw that the 2 million couples who got married last year spent over $100 billion in spend. So that really says something about the wedding industry.
That's a huge number. And what are people spending like per person or per guest?
So a lot of these factors are actually dependent upon where they're located. So let's say in the situation of Arizona, and I need to have these exact numbers on hand right now, but typically what we're finding is that the guest size and the guest count has sort of tapered out, and couples are now spending more per guest. So that guest experience is super at the forefront of their minds.
I love that. I'm not going to plan my own, another wedding, but as a guest, that's really good news for me, right? People are going to spoil me a little bit more when I'm there.
And I think also there's like this trend of these like micro weddings, smaller weddings. So it's like less people, but maybe a better experience. Like maybe your food's going to be better. Like with
That's kind of what you did.
It is, yeah. But if you have less than if you have 200 people or more, it's gonna it might affect the quality.
Yeah, you might be serving chicken instead of
salmon
steak or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you were planning your smaller wedding, was that at the top of your mind, like the guest experience?
Yeah, and it was, and we didn't want to. Actually, not really. I mean,
sorry, guests who were at Whitney's wedding. She was not thinking about you at all.
I felt a lot of stress because I wanted everybody to have a good time, and I didn't want to inconvenience people. I thought, my family's coming from California, Arizona. I don't want them to be like, ugh, I have to go to this. Like, that was the stress that I had. And we had like 30 something people. We went to dinner. So we wanted it to be like a great meal and not cost a fortune, like, because we were going to go on a trip after, and we went to Italy. So we had the priority was less people, better food, a more like intimate experience. That was the goal for sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. When we got married 10 years ago, so kind of different vibes a little bit, but we ended up having about 120 people at our wedding. My rule of thumb, because my mom comes from a big Italian family and all of them were in Ohio where we got married. And so the guest list could have spiraled very, very quickly. And so my rule, I kind of like put my foot down with my parents and my husband's parents and said, if people have not been to our homes or we have not been to their homes for dinner, if we have not had a meal in the past year, they don't make the cut. And it's not me being mean. No. It's just I want the really important people around me. Yes. And that ended up being 120 amazing people who made the day so wonderful.
Totally. No, I agree. We were in the same boat. And one thing that's actually almost harder about having less people is you really have to, if you invite this person, then you have to invite these other people.
Yep.
So that almost made it harder. But by the time my husband and I got married, we'd been together for 9 years. So they were just happy we were doing it. They're like, it's been long enough.
They're like, let's party.
We don't care how you're doing it, but you're doing it, and that's all that really matters.
I love that.
But yeah, and that was our rule. It's like, if you haven't spent time with me and him, and we've been together for 9 years, and you don't know us
as a couple together,
even if you're blood related, it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. No, I love that. Esther, let's talk about, you talk about weddings all day, every day. This is your expertise. Was there anything in this study that surprised you that you were like, ooh, this is interesting and I'm excited for the year ahead?
Yeah. And then I want to also circle back to the average cost of a guest, by the way, which I found those numbers. It's actually $292 is now spent per guest.
Ooh. Okay.
And the average guest count size is actually down to 117. So over the years, it has gone down. In 2019, it was 131. So just as like,
wow.
Yeah, couples are spending more per guest now, but that guest count is slowly coming down. And I hear you. I hear you on all these non-negotiables. Anyways, back to the study. So the biggest findings that we are discovering right now is that wedding planning is now entering the AI era. That's what we're calling it. It has near doubled for couples adopting AI usage in tandem with their wedding planning experiences. Last year was 20%. It has jumped to 36% this year. And what we're finding is that it's not prevalent in the sense of like it being embedded in every single aspect of wedding planning. Like couples still need vendors on the ground to execute their weddings, but they are using it for very early stages. So for example, find me a local florist in Arizona who can specialize in like, I don't know, like cactus floral landscapes or something of that nature. And if you put that in ChatGPT and you actually at the knot lately, you can actually find vendors locally who can help you execute that. And then couples go read the reviews and they're able to connect all of that from AI as well.
So they're using kind of AI more as like Google searches on steroids versus maybe coming up. We were joking around coming up with vows.
Well, that was on here.
Well, okay, so some couples are using AI for vow inspiration, but I want to caution against that. And I think all of us in this room know why. You don't want to copy what AI is telling you to say, because that the whole idea of a vow is that it comes from the heart and your experiences with your partner. And so that's one thing to keep in mind.
What would you do, Whitney, if you found out your husband had run his vows through ChatGPT or some other AI?
Well, divorce. Well, I don't know if we could still get annulled. I don't know if we could. I don't think so. No. I mean, I would be as somebody that loves to read and write, I would be really disappointed, quite frankly.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I can see if you want it for like inspiration, but to write word for word.
Oof. No, I don't like that.
I don't think so.
Or even maybe like the speeches, you want your maid of honor or best man to come up with something that is meaningful versus like, oh, shoot, I forgot this.
Yes.
Like, and they're on the airplane, like on the way to the wedding, like going, help.
Did you and Steve write your own vows?
Yes.
Okay.
We did. And I waited. I'm a procrastinator with literally everything in my whole entire life. And I waited until the morning of the wedding to write them. And now it's a beautiful memory because I was sitting at my childhood home.
Oh.
I had my feet like dangling in the pool in the backyard, like writing the vows. But in the moment, it was the most stressful, like anxiety-inducing situation ever. I would never recommend waiting until the morning of, but I just felt like I needed the pressure to get something good on paper.
Well, we're journalists. We have tight deadlines. So you were just like, it was like you were writing a package and you're like, my deadline is the ceremony begins.
Yeah, literally insanity, absolute insanity. And she was like, I think I wrote these like the day we got engaged. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't make me feel bad.
I do say though that if you are really stressed about, because my husband doesn't like, gets kind of shy. So we wrote vows for each other, but we didn't read them in front of other people. We just read them to each other.
I love that.
So I feel that's a way to get around if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to use ChatGPT to like write my vows. If you just make it between the two of you and maybe take off the pressure and don't do it in front of everyone if you're not comfortable, that is an easy way, I feel like, to get around
I love that. I was in a wedding where that exact same situation happened, and it was so beautiful because they were standing by like Lake Michigan and reading to each other. Oh my goodness, so amazing. Okay, so is AI being used in any other way that we should have on our radar, Esther?
For now, it's just about the early adoption. They're using it for inspiration, some early stage questions, and then connecting with actual platforms like The Knot to find their vendors to actually help them plan their weddings concretely.
Some of the in this study, it showed where people are getting some of their inspiration ideas also, and it was social media. Like TikTok has soared in inspiration for people who are getting married right now. That was I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess I haven't gotten on that algorithm yet.
You're not on wedding algo. You're not on.
I know.
Oh,
shocking. I know.
If you're on it, you're never gonna put it down because now we know how much you love weddings.
I know.
It's amazing. It's really fun to see just the rise of TikTok adoption and how couples are finding inspiration overall, whether it be Pinterest or anything online. But I would say like the question is like, how do you take what you're seeing on TikTok that you love so much and actually applying that to action? Like, how do you take what you actually like that beautiful floralscape? How do you bring that into your planning experience? And again, I do want to talk about the AI of it all. I think that's where it's helpful. We have something called Make It Yours on the Knot. And basically you like have like a mood board and a concept of what you want. And like you favorite a bunch of photos that you love from real weddings or actually real couples. And then the magic of AI, what happens is that on the back end, it connects you to vendors who can help you connect and like execute similar types of styles. So I think there's like a lot of that will start to see the inspiration to action funnel. And you can't just do that singularly on ChatGPT. That's where you really do need the help of like an actual planning tool to help you connect those.
Totally. I love that idea. I can't imagine having my like vision board just like come to light.
I did use Pinterest and TikTok to find a photographer when we got married.
Okay.
And I hired a photographer, and then they said, well, what do you want? What are you envisioning? And then I actually found a photographer on TikTok, and I talked to her, but then it was out of our price range. But then I used Pinterest when we hired photographers in Italy. I used Pinterest to save what I want, what the vibe was, and then I sent that to them, and then that's how we were able to get.
And they
the
just knew the inspiration.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about lab-grown diamonds? I think that is like the $1 million question for so many couples right now. Do we get the lab-grown diamond, get a bigger, more impressive kind of ring? Or do we go for the naturally mined diamonds? There are so many opinions on this, Esther.
I know, because I'm one of those folks who's having real conversations with like friends. I had dinner with a girlfriend this week, and she was like, "Well, I would go for natural because of X, Y, and Z factors." And I was like, "But like, you do realize it's the same compound." So there's a lot of different, opinions here. What we do know and what is concrete is that 61% of all couples last year went for lab. And that's a sizable increase. Yeah, that's a 239% increase since 2020.
Holy cow.
What are the reasons behind that? Is that just affordability?
I think there's so many different factors. One, I want to say it's economic. We're calling it economic pragmatism. It's the fact that, I think couples are seeing that they can get more value for a larger size stone. And, for the same exact compound is what we're hearing from couples directly. Additionally, it's just the cost. Overall, it's about the cost, right? And the actual value of what they're paying up front. Just like you went to Italy after your wedding and you did something more intimate, like some couples are like, I'd rather over-index on the actual celebration itself. And so there's just it's reshaping expectations. It's like overall, like how are couples thinking about rings these days? I will tell you, the numbers speak enough to say that like lab is here. Lab is here.
That's such a fascinating thing. And not just lab-grown diamonds. You found that couples are using other kinds of stones, too, for their engagement rings and wedding rings.
Yeah, we're seeing that, actually, which is so fascinating as well. It's not just the diamonds. We're also seeing emeralds. Colored diamonds even is another factor. I learned this week, but there's such a thing as a green diamond. I didn't know this. Like the color could just be naturally green like that as well as fancy shapes. So you think about the marquise, you think about the different shapes that have become popular. The most is still round. So that round diamond, the round brilliant that we've been seeing since the 90s, like still the most prevalent. It's 26% of all couples go for that shape. But oval is right behind it, 25%.
That's cool.
Call it the Hailey Bieber effect. That's what it is.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I mean, there is another notable wedding probably happening this year, right? Everybody's watching Taylor and Travis. And I'm sure whatever they do is going to just totally reshape the entire industry.
It is. And we actually have data around that too. Interesting enough, last year. I know it's fun. It's fun. You're talking to me over here who nerds out over this entirely. But we wrote a report last year. We called it the Swiftification of Weddings report. And we modeled that her wedding alone and all of her wedding planning decisions will at least contribute to $2.2 billion minimum in spend.
Whoa.
Yeah, at least. That's like a very conservative number too. But whatever Taylor does and touches, we know it turns into gold.
Wow. I can't even imagine the offers
Oh, gosh.
that she's been getting for like custom gowns. I heard a rumor that I don't think this is true, but that someone had their wedding planned at some resort in Rhode Island.
I heard this too. I don't know if it's a real report, but I can imagine if she wanted to get married, the person was probably like, okay.
And then I do know that I think New Heights announced they're going to be taking a break. Like they're going to pause the show. So people were speculating. So anyways, that's a whole nother subject. When she's getting married.
Amazing.
How and where.
Oh my goodness. If it's the place in Rhode Island, I used to live there. I used to work there. Not obviously in that neighborhood. But it is so pretty.
It looks gorgeous.
It's so pretty.
Oh
my gosh. She could do. I mean, I just imagine people will see like whatever flowers. Like if she chooses like rainbow unicorns, everybody will choose rainbow unicorns for their wedding just because they love her.
And I think she's always been really kind of secret. You know, she's kept a lot of things personal. So the fact that her engagement was so public was a surprise to a lot of fans because she kept her private life in the past, you know, pretty private.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So fun. The wedding bells are ringing all over the place. For guests, what are the trends that, like, we walk into a reception in 2026? What should we expect to see? I mean, is the vibe kind of more neutral? Is it super colorful? Is it tons of flowers? Is it minimal flowers? What are we expecting?
Yeah. So here's a few things that you will be seeing in 2026 if you are a guest at a wedding. Number one, so on the wedding website, there's now such a thing and on the invitations, there is now such a thing as an aesthetic dress code. So whatever the theme is, a lot of couples are giving guidance around the actual dress code and how, like, you know, it could be garden party cocktail attire. So there's a specificity involved lately, also along with mood boards that some couples are providing. I went to a lovely black tie wedding last year in Charleston, and she had like a very pretty fall themed wedding, but also a color palette for guests to use. And it was a very wide range. So it's not like it's, you know, extremely granular, like you must wear this certain tone of gold or, you know, green, but more so it's just to make a cohesive aesthetic come to life because you're now part of the decor too. So I think that's like one thing that's really interesting about Gen Z, I'm finding, as well as millennials who are getting married this year. You're also finding, again, that I talk about the guest experience and I can't underscore that enough. It's the fact that couples are just loving the opportunity to give their guests something special. And so like we've seen live painters. We're now seeing branded swag bars, like when guests come into the wedding weekend, for example, they might have some like branded, like cute little swag items, whether it be, I don't know, like a beach towel or something like, you know, at the beginning to show them the guest experience. And there's just so much more. That's what we're seeing.
I love that so much. That's so fun. I feel like you can date yourself just by talking about what was cool and trendy the year you planned your wedding. Like,
oh, totally.
2016 when I got married, it was like everybody, you must have a wedding hashtag.
Oh yeah, that was it.
You thought about it and you tried to come up with it, and then it ultimately became a joke that your bridesmaids came up with because you're like, I give up. I don't know. There's nothing perfect.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's so fun to see the trends through the years of like what is popular.
Because even if you try to say, oh, I'm going to be like timeless, it doesn't matter. There's going to be something about your wedding. When we got married in 2024, I wore a bow instead of a veil to one of our ceremonies. And I'm like, oh, like thinking in my head, yeah, this is going to be timeless. And then I saw someone online say, what is going to be the current wedding trend that everyone's going to talk about in 10 years? They're going to be like bows. I'm like, oh, all right. Well,
everybody's going to know the year you got married.
2024.
Because of the bow.
Yeah.
I love it.
You know, like, JFK, Carolyn Bessette, like that wedding is going to surge again and trend again now with Love Story too. Like it's so great to see the 90s, like in the resurgence of that as well in wedding. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, like I love looking at my mom's and dad's, like I love looking at wedding photos from the 80s because they're so 80s. And it's like, you can't, like, if trends change. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like a snapshot of the time period. So I think it's just like embrace that maybe something's going to be different in a couple of years.
It's so true. So we did not, at our reception, we failed to put out something to like collect cards, and the venue had something left over from a couple that got married there like earlier in the month. And it was this hideous, like very farmhouse aesthetic, like wooden chalkboard thing. And I was like, that is just not me. That's not the vibe I'm going for. And it was there. I walked to the reception. I was like, where did this come from? Get it out of here immediately. And before I got rid of it, the photographer had taken like 1,000 photos of it. So it was like part of like the detail photos, because it was like near the photos of all of our grandparents' weddings and things. I was like, oh my gosh, I hate it. Like, and now everybody's going to think I wanted chalkboards.
Yeah. Well, at least you know what you like. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing. And kind of going back to what we were talking about with TikTok, I was all over it when I was getting married. And it was almost stressful because everyone, like, there's a lot of pressure to have certain things or look a certain way, or like brides will be like, bride prep. I'm doing all of this up until my wedding day. And it can get a little overwhelming, the choices.
Absolutely. Esther, I'm sure you see that with brides and kind of like the whole beauty regimen ahead of time and the workout regimen and everything else too that goes along with it.
Yeah, I think more than that, what we're seeing lately though is actually like more of a wellness aspect of like wanting to be zen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, and I love that because it used to be so perfectionism, like image driven and almost performative in that way. And lately it's about internal and like what's good in here so that it emanates throughout the energy of that day.
Yeah. And I liked in the study, it talked about the conversations couples are having, like about finances and money and kids, because like that's what you should be talking about before
that's
you
the
get
real
married.
part
like
of
that
marriage.
Is like a wedding is a wedding, a marriage is a whole separate thing.
Exactly. And these are the discussions that are hard discussions to have, but if you're problem solving together as you're having them, you're in good shape for your wedding. You are.
Esther, we could talk to you all day long about weddings. You could join me maybe in my future wedding planning, wedding dress shop adventure. If people want to find you, shout out some social media sites or where we can find some of those really cool tools you were talking about.
Yeah, find us at theknot.com, as well as at The Knot on social. And you'll be able to follow along for all of the fun things that we're baking this year. Stay tuned for Taylor's wedding too. We'll be doing a lot of yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for the conversation. This was really fun.
All right, you too. Bye.
That was such a fun conversation. And I mean, obviously, I'm obsessed with weddings.
I really didn't know this about you, Susan.
Here we are.
But I love this about you.
It's just so fun and romantic. You read through this whole study too. I mean, we just had a really great in-depth conversation, but there was something that stuck out to you that we didn't actually get to with this conversation.
Well, I think I'm looking at my phone because I have it pulled up here. I think that the differences between Gen Z and Millennials and the open bar choice, 60% of 55% of Gen Z couples had an open bar, 70% Millennials had an open bar. I mean, that is like something that I feel like has changed a lot with Gen Z.
It kind of is reflective of the whole alcohol industry right now. We're seeing sales kind of plummet based on Gen Z, according to all this reporting. So the fact that that's translating to their weddings too is really fascinating. As a wedding guest, I wouldn't be mad if I showed up and there was no open bar, but I kind of expect it. Like you just kind of go in thinking like these are the beats of a wedding reception. And here's what I'm thinking.
And I agree. Like it's not like I'm like, I must have an open bar. But for me, and when we got married, like we were going to pay but we also only had 35 people. So we could do that easily. So I can see why people don't, because you don't want people like out of control. Because we've all been to those weddings before, and you don't want that. So it's a delicate balance. I think a lot of times, sometimes you'll see like free open bar with beer and wine, and then you pay for a cocktail if you want liquor.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's all so fascinating and so unique. Every single couple makes all these choices on their own, and every wedding has its beautiful moments.
And I think that's what's great about people our age and younger is they're doing it their own way, and they're not doing it because their parents told them to do it a certain way. It's like every couple's going to be different, and if you can just do what makes sense for you, I think that's the best thing in the world.
I love it. Whitney, thank you so much for joining me for this. I hope you'll come back. We'll come up with other fun topics to chat about, but this was awesome, and I really appreciate you joining me.
Of course, anytime.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile news app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.